A very good morning and a warm welcome to each and every person here. The purpose of education is to prepare for the future we do not know. Education is a very powerful tool when used in the right way will definitely impact millions of lives. I would like to welcome you all once again to Educational Congress Awards, and I'm super excited and delighted to be on stage with my panel members. Let me reintroduce my panel members. Here is Vinay Maheshwari. He is the Managing Director of New York Academy. He's also the trustee of Mohan Babu University. And next to me is Amrita Burman. She is the Director of Sunbeam Schools. And let us start off with today's discussion. The discussion for today is building a symbiotic relationship between K-12 education and technology. I would like to start off by addressing my first question, that is, the new NEP has definitely replaced 10 plus 2 traditional structure with 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 structure. And there's a lot of emphasis given to pre-primary, which is definitely the foundation for any student. So I would want Vinay Maheshwari and Amrita Burman to throw some light on what are the new educational models in the educational sector. We can go ahead with Vinay Maheshwari first.
You can start because she's
Sure.
an educator.
Okay.
So, good morning, Jai Hind. That's the way, that's what we use in at the Sunbeam Group in Varanasi. And it's an absolute honor to be here. And I think technology is something that everybody has been speaking about. But I think it's possibly the buzzword should be spoken. Ritu spoke a lot about it, and I think rightly so. So one is she spoke about, actually there are two different things that we are speaking about. One is the change in the structure which NEP has brought about. I will just throw a little bit of light on my excitement the moment I read the NEP. It was there in the draft. It came up in a very big way when the NEP was rolled out about the change in the structure. We had a 10 plus 2. We have a 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. The most exciting part about the 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 was the 5, the pre-primary. In fact, there used to be a time till about even 2 years back when we had to fill up data, and send it to the government, all the sites. All of us have to do it, okay, in schools. And every time I would punch my kindergarten, it would come back to me saying, "Ye kyun de rahe hain aap? Humko to class 1 se matlab hai." And I used to say, oh God, I used to tell my guys, I said, continue giving, because they don't realize this is where the foundation lies. If you really want to make a difference, you have to start there. I'm so happy that there have been a lot of institutions in the country who fought for the recognition of pre-primary, and that's what has really brought in a change. And I'm glad everybody's attention is to the pre-primary. So that's just to let you know about my excitement about the change in the structure. Coming to the change in the model, I think Ritu spoke a lot about it, and I completely agree with the changes that are coming up in the way education models have changed. So the way education has changed, the way delivery has changed, the way patterns have changed, it's positively the technology that has made the hybrid model possible. She spoke about it. And I can see that change there in schools. Today, to be relevant, if you do not do the blended and the hybrid model, you're probably out of business. And another thing, as a practitioner, it was difficult to do it during COVID because none of us were ready. Overnight, we were shut off and we had to do it. So we all were very creative, we did it. So I don't want to go back to that. But what happened was, the moment we got back after COVID, it was a reverse. Everybody wanted to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Oh, no more online. Even today, parents say, oh God, online nahi karana. But over time, the benefits of hybrid and blended has really come up in a very big way. Because children at many times don't want to come back to physical school. Sometimes there are some very compelling needs and they can't. But at the same time, neither a child nor a parent wants a child to miss out on what's going on. The connect has to happen. So I think the hybrid model, to train your teachers on how to maintain the hybrid model, is the biggest challenge of the day. Because most of our teachers are not really in love with technology. The younger ones are. The ones who have been around for some time are really not. So the biggest challenge is to get your teachers trained on the hybrid model, but the hybrid model is here to stay. The second most important thing that is changing and the model that's coming up is, I think, a lot of emphasis on SEL and on mental well-being. If with the hybrid model, the human touch, the finding out of what is the need of your child is not there, you are not going to be good when it comes in the blended format of the offline classes. Children are coming to you now not for information, but for that human touch. Are you training your teachers for that? I think that's the next big model. Last thing that I want to say. Your class sizes, and I'm saying it out of, again, experience because I come from Varanasi and that belt where low budget schools exist. And how do they exist? Because they work in huge numbers. Otherwise, they can't. The financial model doesn't work. But high numbers in classrooms are also going out of practice because children are looking for a lot of personalized. I'll not go into the technology part of the personalized thing right now, later. But they are looking for that personal eye contact, which is not possible in a 50, 60 class strength. So we also, the next model is low class size because you need to have that personal connect with the children. So these are the three things that I want to mention.
Thank you so much.
I'll just add, yes, in fact, I think she's said it all, but I'll just add from managing a school perspective, you see, we have a CBSE school and we also have a WESC accredited school, which is one of the 2 schools in India that has WESC accreditation, and we have one of them. So we have, like, at this school, we have a PYP and an MYP, which is completely dealt very differently. So we have a play toddler group, we have a play group, and these are also dealt very differently. We also have very different techniques and teaching methodologies, including the teacher training methodologies for both of these schools. But, having, just to kind of present the management view of this is, reducing the class sizes, using tech and stuff, while of course we all want it. But, it's pretty difficult as well at times to afford it, okay? So that's one challenge that we have to obviously work upon as to how do we make sure that this is affordable for the schools as well. Well, she's put it very brilliantly, of course, personalized education, blended education, competency-based education. All these things are the need of the hour, and of course you have to drive them before they drive you, okay? So that's important, but at the same time, we also have to see, do we have competent faculty? What kind of focus, what kind of effort is being put on those faculties to train them, coach them, to be able to lead this world? So that's what I wanted to just add to this. Thank you.
I totally agree with both of you. I believe firmly that the new NEP has definitely opened doors to more and more initiatives taken, and as both rightly said, whether it's flipped classrooms, whether it's project-based learning, whether it's any form of interactive education like interactive boards or hybrid learning, definitely there are a lot of advantages. So thank you so much. Let's move on to the next question. Education technology is changing the way students, educational institutions, and at the same time, the teachers, the parents interact with each other. So my question is, what do you think is the next big what in the educational sector? Can you throw some light on that?
So education and technology has obviously come up in a very, very big way. Was there before COVID, but it was mentioned earlier that COVID changed it all. Everybody was forced to fall in love with technology. And I think the EdTech business took an absolute leap. So it's not about what was there on a platter for the education sector to take up. I think there's a lot, and there's so much more that's coming up every day. There may be so many from the EdTech field today. Everybody is actually fighting to be more creative to come up with something new. But what's important is that we as schools, how much are we adapting to this technology? I think the next big thing in education is obviously generative AI and ChatGPT and the more. I really wouldn't be able to tell you about everything because it's also a field we as schools are really grappling with because there's too much that's coming up. And we're at a cusp of this change. But positively, those schools that do not fall in love with technology and adapt it are going to be out of business. That's for sure. You're going to be irrelevant. And I think ChatGPT and generative AI, whatever little I have understood, maybe just the tip of the iceberg, is something which is going to bring about a revolution. It's the need of the hour. Every child, as I mentioned earlier, is looking for personalized attention. For that, and that's nothing new, it's something that's coming up for generations. But we didn't know how to do it because we had huge class sizes, and it was difficult to know in a class of 40 what is the need of every child. But technology brought about that change. Today, through technology, you go in for more personalized assessments. But you get to know what is it that your child is missing out on, where are the gaps. Once you get to know the gaps, you can have assessments, not assessments, you plan, you curate your lessons better because you've assessed the child and you know the gap. So you know exactly what is the need of the ABC child sitting in your class. And every child can be sent, the flipped classroom model, which we were following for years, I think has again gone to a different level, because I can send to my child what is needed by him for him to sit down at home and check and see, because there's a gap, he can do it on his own, come back to the class tomorrow, and we could start afresh with the child when the child has already reached to a particular level. So I think personalization in education with the help of technology has come up in a big way. You also make your children independent learners. There are personal tutors, there are chat bots that are there in your technology world where a child can be guided in the right way and told to the child that, you can go in there, you can check, you can take this particular person or particular, I'm not very sure about how that works, but I know it works. That this is it that you could go into, learn better, come back tomorrow. So I think personalized education assessment is positively the next big thing, and it has come up in a very, very big way. So I see this as the next model, generative AI, as technology and education, the marriage between the two.
So this is one of my favorite topics, and because I come from consumerism background and 27 years of consumerism, and I've also studied students and parents and the word from the lenses of from the lenses of being a consumer. See, if you look at the sports, the physical education from that standpoint, like you see how it is, it's so personalized. So, for example, if you go to a cricket nets today, they have softwares, where like if there's an off spinner which is incoming, it kind of captures the off spinner and then it tells the off spinner where is it, where are the faults. So where it's landing the foot is the fault, where it's bending the elbow is the fault, spinning finger is the fault. So it is personalized to that extent. On the contrary, when you kind of look at, let's say, mapping the mental, like let's say the mental awareness, the neuro awareness for a student, that's a very different ball game. Like I'll give you an example. At our school, we have an incubation cell, and where we incubate various startups, and then we have incubation cell in various, for various grades. So we have an incubation cell which is only up to grade 5th. Okay, that means you have to put forth your idea, and then we seek the help of the elder students, like the senior students, to give their ideas a bit of a tech version of it. So this is like that all-inclusive immersive space. The other thing that I wanted to tell you, like it's a very interesting startup that I just very recently came across, and we are now using them. They are doing the pilot with us. It's like they are doing a test of the classroom to tell us what is so basically it's a test that tells us the learning intakes of a very single student in the classroom. So whether it is the method in which it is being taught, the subjects being taught, or the method in which the student has grasped it. Okay, it kind of clearly tells you whether the gap is at the student level or the gap it is at the teacher level. So those technology, that kind of a technology is surely going to help a lot. Of course, AI, the next big thing, and you know what all AI can do. Very recently, I came across, an AI thing where there's a teacher who's a very popular maths teacher, was simultaneously teaching 9 classrooms. Okay, and nobody knew, okay, which is the classroom he's actually teaching. Okay, so AI, of course, is going to be the thing, and of course, AI is still at a very, very nascent stage, lot in store as we go forward. ChatGPT, as we said, ChatGPT came, and of course, so one downside of any good technology or any new technology would always be that people will find an easier and a cheat way to use it. We all know how students are using ChatGPT, and how, as faculties, as their caretakers, how we are actually looking at those plagiarism softwares to catch them. Okay, I think these things will continuously, will keep going on. But as I said, if we can actually make right use of technology, I'm sure we can obviously, we can blend the future well. Thank you.
I mean, as you rightly said, I completely agree with you. Technology has definitely added a lot of value to education, but there is a lot of downside also. For example, if a student gets too much addicted to AI, definitely the creativity of the child is lost. And whether it's flipped classrooms, whether it's hybrid learning, whether it's personalization, I'm sure there's so much of added value to the technology, but there's also a downside. So the parents, the teachers, and the educational institution should constantly create that awareness in the child to what extent the child should use and monitor. Let's move on to the next question, that is, the world is changing. That means the way we study, we learn, in order to survive in this world definitely has to change. The way we learn has to change, embracing the technological changes. And I would like to hear from you, what are the key trends to the educational sector?
So the key trends in the education sector, I think the maximum change is coming about in the way we are transacting education in our classroom. The delivery patterns have positively gone in for a change, and there's nothing new in what I'm going to say. I think we've been hearing it for some time now, that no technology is going to replace teachers, but the teachers who haven't really adapted to technology are positively going to be out. So having said that, you just can't say this and, expect your teachers to do it on their own. So as educational institutions, how much are we hand-holding our teachers in getting trained, in learning? Because you also have in your staff room teachers who've been teaching in your school for years together. And obviously they're not in love with technology, and yet you have a mix of younger people coming in who are absolutely in love with technology. And probably there was a time when experience really matters. Today, I think in most places, and in education a lot, experience sometimes is more of a disadvantage today than an advantage. So if people tell me that, I've got so many years of experience and I think I can get a good job, I mean, I don't want to sound mean, I never say that to anyone, but in my mind I think, go try it. If you don't keep training yourself and move with the times, probably you're out of the job market today. So that's one point. So it is my responsibility as anybody who heads institutions that we are the ones who have to handhold, train, put in our maximum amount of finances into teacher training. Because transaction in the room, as I said, has changed. So if I am not in love as a teacher with technology, if I have not got trained as to how to use the technology to curate the right kind of lessons with a great marriage and a mix of offline and online, what I send to my child, and remember my child today has got a very, very short attention span. Distractions in his life are the maximum because each of them has this in their hands. We never did. Even till a few years back, parents said every child does not need to have a device. But today, for safety's sake, many reasons, every child has got that. So look at the amount of distraction. So am I, as a teacher, curating good, immersive material to be sent back to the child? Or when my classroom has become a truly smart class, what I'm showing on an IFP, is it really immersive? If my teachers are not trained on how to curate the right kind of and design right kind of material to be sent to the children, we are going to be going right out of business, because child has it free today on the internet. He doesn't need you at all. The next thing, and what I mentioned earlier, and I think it is the most important, every child today is living in isolation. So are we, when my child comes to school, really giving him that human touch? If I don't give the human touch when my child is going to come to school, my child is not going to come to school because he doesn't come for knowledge. He comes for a connect because he's isolated at home. So I think these are the two major changes in the educational delivery transactions in the classes. If we don't work on them, we are positively going to be irrelevant as schools with time.
So to add to that, I think she's absolutely right. I think if any industry needed continuous self-renewal, this is the industry that needs the continuous self-renewal at every level, every possible day. So this is one industry where, experience, of course, experience counts everywhere, but then experience also has to continuously self-renew itself. It's an interesting industry where in terms of promotions, like, in any other industry, you leave the cadre, you go to the new cadre, you have a new job challenge. Here you have to fail in the same grade as a teacher every year. Okay, and then yet you have to come back, you have to come with new adaptive learning methodologies, new micro-learning, micro-teaching methodologies. So this world is changing really fast, and I think one value that every school should imbibe is the continuous self-renewal. Like, how are you renewing yourself every single day?
As both of you rightly said, a student, a teacher should be a lifelong learner in order to survive in this education industry, and definitely a lot of upscaling is needed by all the teachers, and it is extremely essential for an educational institution to take that initiative to orient the teachers on the new technologies, and at the same time a lot of hand-holding is also needed. So I totally agree with both of you, and I think everyone agrees in the room as well. So let's move on to the next question. Education and innovation are interconnected, and definitely they're the drivers for skill development. The key developments influencing the landscape of K-12 education and job skill training. So can you throw some light on that? What do you think are the key developments?
Sorry, the key?
Developments. When you take technology and job skill training.
So if you talk about jobs and skill, I think again it's very offset. We don't know what are the jobs for the future, because jobs keep getting created and jobs keep getting obsolete. So what can we do as teachers in the classroom, as educators in the classroom? I think we can only prepare them for a future which nobody's seen. And I think this preparation is obviously got a lot to do with the skill development that you spoke about. According to me, this is a personal take and it may not resonate with you. I think with technology coming in, there are going to be three kind of people who are going to be able to make it, in future and will have a job and hopefully will have a secure job. One, those who are great technology creators. They should be, so we need to give them all the skills that are needed to be able to create technology, which would mean creativity, risk-taking, trying something new. These are the skills that are important. Only then can I try my hand at different things. I need to have a logical skill. I should be able to be a creator only then of technology, because technology is going to keep growing. So am I a creator of technology? If I am, there are more chances that I'll have a job tomorrow. Because if I'm a mere consumer, it may be difficult. Next is, am I then, if I'm not a creator, am I a very, very good applier? Whatever is there, have I been able to work around and train myself on the technology that exists? For that, I need to be a learner for life, and I need to be an independent learner, because technology will keep growing, but I always won't have a teacher next to me. So I need to be an independent learner, have my way around on the use of technology in the right way. So I can be a consumer of technology, but I have to be a high-level consumer of technology. Then I may have a job, because technology will remain. How are we going to use it? So that's the second thing. And the third people, again, I think which are really going to be the maximum in business, are those who can deal with human mental health. Those who are great with social emotional learning, because with isolation, etc., I don't want to repeat, but I think what I'm seeing in my classrooms today, my counselors, I'm talking about the behavioral counselor, my counselors are full. I have 3 in each of my branches and they are absolutely packed. So what I've done is, every teacher in my school has been trained as a pastoral guide, someone who can flag isolation, talk to the child and not necessarily send everyone to the counselor, because sometimes it's not such a major issue. But it becomes major because I don't know how to handle it in my class. So I'm a great teacher. I want to connect, but I don't know how to connect. So those who are in the field of SCL have a job for tomorrow. So these are the skills. If you learn it, I think you're secure for tomorrow.
So, so this is one perspective. The other thing is, like I'll just give you one of the studies that I've just recently come across. 87% of our parents, okay, are, in fact, this case study was around how many parents encourage their kids to go on to entrepreneurial journey. 87% of them have actually come up and said, listen, you do a job first. Let's kind of secure your career first. You can have a look at it at a later date. So what I'm just saying is the role that the parents play, the roles that the schools play in also looking at the offbeat careers. When I say offbeat careers, the country is still, despite all the technological advancement, despite all the job openings, despite all the, the global orientation, yet we are focused on those 4 or 5 key areas. Okay, I think the time has come to open up to the world and look at various other streams. So I think what we should do, and what in fact I think we will have to do, is to open up our students, because as the competency-based learnings will come up, the competency-based jobs will also come across. So I think that's another thing that we should look at, is to how do we prepare our students in a way that they just don't go after, the set 2, 3, 4 regulated streams, and they look at the world for much more.
I just wanted to add to that point. I think that's a very well said point about career counseling. I think most of the progressive schools are doing a lot of career counseling today and talking about non-traditional careers. But I think where he really touched the point was about parents. And my personal experience again goes that most of the Indian schools, unfortunately, do not look at their parents as their best friends. You're always very negative about parents, so parents are usually not very welcome. And it was the same in my institution, I'm talking about years back, till we flipped the whole thing. And we started talking about parents really being the biggest stakeholder, I think, in this, if you want to call it a business of education. Because I think it impacts their lives the maximum along with the child. So the moment we started taking parents on board, and I'll come to the career counseling part, taking the parents in, I have realized that the parents have changed. They are ready to listen to the career counselors, otherwise they wouldn't come. And there's something very latest that I've done, and that's worked. Usually, for those who are into the science careers, the ones who are into engineering or medical, never come for career counseling because they say, humko pata hai, humko kya banna hai. So then I've started telling them, I know you want to be an engineer. Great. We respect it. We welcome it. We are also training you for that. But आपको पता है कि engineering में कितनी fields हैं? हो सकता है आपको mechanical करना है and the child doesn't get in. And maybe he gets into something else and there is a new field. So we've got parents on board, counseled them, even if they were fixed in their heads on what career their child's choice was. And we managed to change them around. So why I was bringing up this point of parenting, which he mentioned so rightly, is if we really want the career of tomorrow to be discussed in the living rooms of parents, if we really want children to go in for non-traditional careers, I think we have to get the parents on board with the career counseling. Just talking to a child in India does not work. Good point brought up, Vishnu.
A lot of orientation definitely is needed to all the parents in order to have a right hand-holding to the student. At the same time, I believe and feel, all thanks to the new NEP policy that has come, definitely it has opened more doors to STEAM-based learning, interactive models, flipped classrooms, and so on, gamification and so on. These are all the new trends, but definitely an education institution should raise a lot of awareness, orientation to all the parents and teachers out there. Let us move on to the next question. The Indian education industry is one of the largest with 1.46 students out there, and our industry is growing and growing. So at the same time, I want to know what are the key investment opportunities you see today?
So I think Ritu spoke a lot about the online, non-brick and mortar schools. I think after COVID and much after COVID, I've seen that, and I hope I'm not wrong, I think brick and mortar schools will not go out of business. They will not. Because despite everything, again, the human touch is needed. Everybody wants to come to school for socializing, for having fun, for getting onto the playground, etc., etc. So I think brick and mortar schools will still remain as an investment. But where I agree is, it is possibly not going to be the biggest investment because these spaces could be shared amongst a lot of more students in your school. Number of hours that the children will be spending in a traditional format school positively is going to be reduced because there are alternatives. So I think the investment will be one, still in brick and mortar schools. Besides that, a lot on online schooling. A school that works on both. So say, for example, the kind of schools we run, if we also have a proper structured online schooling model where possibly you come to school on a Monday and a Friday and you don't come to school on the rest of the days and you stay at home, and my teacher who's teaching you online is very good with technology, and I have my SEL kind of teachers teaching in the traditional format. If there's a great mix between the two, I think those kind of schools will remain and will be the schools of the future. Maximum investments will happen there. I think EdTech will still continue to be a very, very high investment model. And again, I repeat, and I've seen it, those who are working on values, those who are coming up with values in all different formats. Like, for example, we use movies to teach values to our children. And there are many more who are following those models and investing in that. They are doing really roaring business. So those who are investing, again, in mental health, investing in behavioral counseling, and in brick and mortar and online schools together, that I think will be tomorrow's places to invest in, and I think there'll be good ROI on that.
Thank you.
So true. I think the investments will be largely in the EdTech space. Another startup that I've very recently come across. They have something called they have something called a EdBuddy. So EdBuddy is your, basically what they do. They create your own avatar, and this guy knows all about you, and he's your buddy and mentor in that space. So meaning, when you are as a student, like all that you should learn, all that you have not been learning, all your gaps, this particular buddy kind of just tells you. So in a way, in a very secretive environment, you have a buddy who kind of keeps telling you that these are the gap areas that you need to overcome. So this is a very interesting one. I mean, this has a huge consumer, like a consumer reach. So EdTech, of course, EdTech is going to be an investment area. And more so, as these problems will keep surfacing, I'm sure there will be tech-bound solutions, and that's where a lot of investments is going to surely come up. Blended, it's already blended. AI, it's already in. Immersive, it's already in. Social learning, social listening, social skilling is already in. So you see a lot of technological, technological intervention already. It's already there, and that's the area of investment, I'm sure.
One more area that I think is very important is, again, teacher training. Teacher training has already come up in a very big way. There's a huge demand and there's a huge gap. I think teacher training in technology and traditional classroom blend. The blend is a different thing altogether. I can be a traditional teacher, I can be an online teacher. How do I blend the two in the right way to save time and yet to give the best to my child is, I think, an area of concern. I think there
I totally agree with you. COVID has definitely opened doors to digital technology. We have never valued digital technology so much, but there was a point in time from COVID, ever since COVID, that There was no other way but to start off with online classrooms, blended learning, and so on. At the same time, upscaling and teacher training is definitely required. So I would like to thank both of you for answering that question.
Thank you.
Yeah. So let us go on with the last and final question. Do you think skill training, upscaling the skills of a teacher is extremely important, and what are the kinds of training that an educational institution should give to the teacher?
So I think the skill training, again, I said a lot of use of technology if you talk about the teachers and the blend. I think that's the most important. Another thing which again I mentioned and we have invested a lot in is recognizing the child, connecting to the child. So these are things that I have actually spoken a lot about. But I think whether it's the leaders of the school, because it has to start there. Sometimes teachers want it, but the leaders are so stuck, you know. So if you don't create an ecosystem which can only be created by leaders, I think it doesn't work. So most important is our investment in our leaders, and then of course it has to percolate down all the way to the teachers. Certain skills which we really need to get in our leaders and teachers is adaptability. Ready to change? Are they ready to learn? Unless and until we are not ready to learn, I don't think any kind of training is going to work. And what I've noticed also is, in the education sector, it's better now, but I don't think it's as good as it is in most of the other sectors, which is collaboration. Unless and until schools don't collaborate with each other, and don't, talk about best practices to each other, which can then lead to better teacher training, because you need to know, this is a best practice here, it's working well, I think I should also do it for my children. So you don't even get to know what's really good because everybody is so tight-fisted. So I think openness, collaboration, adaptability are the skills that are needed, and the teacher training has to be on a readiness for the future, which I've spoken a lot about, so I don't want to be repetitive on that front.
And to add to that, I think, how I look at it from the management standpoint is the right need gap analysis. Okay, see, your problems could be very different to, problems being faced by other schools. So the right need gap analysis and customization of the training module that suits to your requirement. I think these two are pretty important aspects, because we obviously can't coach our teachers on a ready-made package that's available at the marketplace, just because that's available. And most of us actually, I've come across a lot of these schools and institutions, those who would take a particular institution to teach, coach their teachers, okay, without actually taking a deep dive and understanding what kind of need gaps that we need to address, okay, and what kind of a customization is needed for my school. So I think these two are key elements. Like, first is assessing the need gap, and then customizing the coaching methodology or the training methodology suiting your institution.
A lot of educational institutions have upgraded their digital technology, but what is missing is the upgrading of skills of a teacher. It is extremely important for a teacher to understand the new methods and techniques what are taking place in the school, and I feel there is a gap there, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of awareness created in that. So today we have touched upon what are the new educational models in the education industry, what are the trends, and we have also emphasized on being a lifelong learner. We also spoke about upgradation of how upgradation of skills will definitely add a lot of value to the education industry. We touched upon AI, the use of AI, and the disadvantage also, and we have touched upon gamification and the new methods and technologies that are going to come. And I believe that Indian education industry is definitely a fast-growing industry with so many technologies coming up, but a teacher, the management, the institution should definitely look upon upscaling of the skills of a teacher. I would like to thank both of you, and I would also like to thank the audience for contributing to this panel discussion. Thank you so much.
Also, ma'am.
And also, yeah. I would also like to ask if anyone have any questions, you can throw some light on it. Yes.
Hello, good morning, Amrita ma'am. My name is Vibha. I'm the founder of this project called Chambadi and a clean tech founder. I love your zesty, passionate presentation and loved your point over collaboration for teachers as as an inter-school collaboration phenomena in order to improve teachers' tech awareness levels and in general about tech utilization for teachers. I want to draw your attention and ask the same question in the context of collaboration between schools, inter-school collaboration and inter-EdTech and school collaboration from the point of view of tier 2, tier 4 market schools. I've myself as founder of Chambadi researched in Bharatpur, Alwar and many places in Rajasthan, Panipat, Sonipat, Haryana, where I found schools which are in the middle and lower order and they're bring to speed scale schools. They really lack the urban school levels of technology upgradation, and forget about their students having access to phones and mobile phones. Their teachers don't have demonstrative tech which they can use in classrooms to give to schools. So what can be done as a matter of inter-school collaboration in order to provide access of technology and modern techniques to these tier 2, tier 4 market schools? Can hybrid models, blended models, shared resources, shared teachers, etc. Really make collaboration more feasible between schools and EdTech societies?
So if I've understood your question right, I'm going to try and answer that. Actually, when we were talking about collaboration, I completely agree with you. There has to be intra-school and inter-school. Inter-school I mentioned, even intra-school, before I go to your question, because there are some teachers in your own staff room who are very good with technology, some are not. I'm tempted to just, share this practice that we had during COVID. So we had all our otherwise experienced teachers who were really sweet, who really wanted to learn, but they didn't know where to learn from. So we kind of twinned the young ones who had kind of just stepped into the classroom. They needed different kind of skill set hand-holding. This experienced one needed the tech hand-holding. So both of them came together. They became the best of friends. And for the first time, I saw the experienced one saying, I've really learned from this young girl who's just barely about, 21, 22, and she's probably sitting 3 or 4 years away from retirement. So you don't know what is a talent in your staff room. I think collaboration within the school, try and build up models, it works. Coming to the 3-tier, 2-tier towns of schools, I'm not very aware if you're aware of the fact that we run schools not only in Varanasi, we are running schools in 3-tier towns of the country. So we have schools in places like Bhadoi, Mirzapur, Devariya, possibly places you've not even heard of. Okay, but they are the models, I guess you're talking about, who are really wanting to adapt to technology. Where I disagree with you is that has tech really reached them? I think it's not about what reaches you. It's about what you get for yourself, because it all starts with a hunger. And I travel to these places, and the hunger I have seen in the children there, and the teachers there. I'm sitting in Delhi. I'm sorry, I don't want to speak about anything because there are good and bad examples everywhere on earth. But I've seen that hunger much more than in any metropolitan city. They have the fire in their belly today. So as leaders, those who are running these schools, and as EdTech providers, or a school who's high on technology, if you're ready to give them things, they have devices. Because let me tell you again, and I'm talking about a segment. I'm not talking about the government segment. They have, huge challenges. The segment I'm talking about, they have the wherewithal to give resources to their children. They have devices. They are better on internet today than they were even during COVID. COVID was a challenge period for them. So if the EdTech companies are ready to go there, if there are schools who are ready to collaborate with them, they have the desire to learn. So this collaboration between schools in 3-tier towns and even 4-tier towns in the country is possible. And you'll be surprised. They will surpass you. the kids and the teachers are very focused, they have less distractions in their lives than our children have in their classrooms today. So it is possible completely.
Very interesting, in fact, just to add to her point, you said tier 2, tier 3, tier 2, tier 3. I think it is what she's actually used the word hunger. And time and again, she's used the word hunger. Hunger, passion, energy, these are like key words. Like if you are passionate, you will drive everything to your place. I'll tell you, see, we also own a school in Tirupati, not exactly in Tirupati, some 20 kilometers away from Tirupati, which is not even a tier 4 town. It's a tier 5 town technically, okay, with just a population of about 12,000 in the town. You know, these students, I'll just tell you a very interesting one. A teacher who wanted to inculcate like this practice of reading books, he asked the students to convert a bus stop in the vicinity to a bookstop. That's India's first bookstop. You Google and see. They have a full-fledged library at the bookstop. So you can just go read your book and it is managed by students. This bus stop is called as bookstop. Okay. Now another one, you see, another teacher who was actually, it's an English teacher who was trying to teach them Shakespeare. Okay. He figured out how do I kind of bring in their interest in Shakespeare. So he created something called a Shakespeare garden. And in that garden, he brought in all the plants that are ever described in a Shakespeare novel, and he wanted them to kind of put those. And now they are now nurturing a Shakespeare garden. Now everyone in the school now knows who's Shakespeare, what was he, why he ever existed, what did he write, all of those things. So this is how, I mean, these are both offline innovations, but still an innovation. It's an innovative way of teaching because the teachers were passionate about, you know, about their subjects. Okay, so they can make it possible.
Morning. This side, at the back.
Sorry.
Yeah, 6 o'clock. 6
there,
o'clock.
there.
6 o'clock at the back. Thank you so much. So with the due permission of the hall, thank you so much, Amrita ma'am and Vinay sir. I just want to bring to notice two things. Generally, since we are leaders, so we are well versed with the circle of control and a circle of influence. Right, ma'am? So this is something which is being taught and this is something which we work on. So our students are within our circle of control. And our passion, our vision, our perspective, everything is doable and it is deliverable also because we are all within the circle of control. So we can achieve it. Our visions are achievable. But here, my point of concern which makes me to stand and ask all the August gathering here is the burning topic. That is, because Amrita ma'am has also mentioned n number of times and which all of us resonate also is that human touch, the connection which we as educators need to handle with care with our students because this is only one industry. I'm sorry, I'm using the words very, very mindfully because education has become an industry today. And this industry is of tender minds. So that is the reason we are to handle our students with care and focus a lot on the psychology and the human need. But the point here is, here the parent, which are our major stakeholders, are not within our circle of control, but they are within the circle of influence. हम स्कूल वाले सब काम करते हैं because we are being taken for granted. हमने क्या किया? हमने एक्स्ट्रा इनिशिएटिव लेकर पेरेंट ओरिएंटेशंस किए, राइट मैम? बहुत मेहनत किया, पेरेंट्स को बोला कि ये हमारा करिकुलम है, हमें आपकी ये सपोर्ट की ज़रूरत है, आप प्लीज़ हमारी मदद कीजिए ताकि so that we are able to deliver our best to our student. Now this culture of parent workshops now is adding so much into our thing that our hands are full today.
Just 1 minute. I think she's got time issues. I'll try and answer that in 2 seconds. Okay?
Yeah.
First
Where
of all,
should this end here?
Yeah, I'll just make it short. I think I don't like this word of circle of control with children or parents, because nobody can you control today. And I don't think it's a good attitude. But I love the word circle of influence. So the fact is, the moment we do workshops, etc., we are all doing different things. All of us are trying to influence our parents, and we should. Trying to influence our students, and we should. But if you think, एक वर्कशॉप कर लिया, एक ओरिएंटेशन कर लिया और कल को मैजिक हो जाएगा, ऐसा नहीं होता. You have to go on and on. It's your belief, which is actually in your circle of control, ma'am. We have a control only on ourselves, not on the world. So in your circle of control, believe in yourself that you can make this difference to every child and every parent. Work on it. किसी दिन ये होगा, and I'm talking out of experience. किसी दिन ये होगा. 100% कोई चीज कभी नहीं होती, लेकिन होगा.
But schools को करना चाहिए.
जरूर करना चाहिए, कभी give up नहीं करना चाहिए.
Unfortunately, we're running out of time, so I'll just add to this, and maybe you can just kind of connect with me offline. See, first of all, just change these words from, the circle of control or circle of influence to degree of control and degree of influence. Okay? So and that's where your problem size will obviously get reduced. We can discuss about it offline.
Thank you so much.
Right.
Thank you.
In the interest of time, my question would be very straightforward to both of you. I've loved the way you've described everything about the EdTech and the education ecosystem. So, a couple of quick questions for you, if you don't mind. First one would be, do you see a connect between the corporate system and the Indian education system, especially when the skill set and the curriculum is not changing as per the contemporary times? Do you see that the school should collaborate with the corporates as well to ensure that there is collaboration between the two, especially to ensure skill sets? The second one would be for you, sir.
Can I just interrupt you for
Yes.
a moment? We're running short of time.
Yeah.
So can we answer this offline after the event is done?
Sure. Thank you so
thank
much.
you.
She just gave me the permission to make it very crisp for this corporate thing, if it was addressed to me. I don't know whether Vinay would be the better person there, though. The fact is, if I understood the question right, I was a little distracted, that corporatization of education, well, I don't want to use the word, unfortunately, I would say coincidentally, is happening. And actually, there is nothing really wrong. There are certain good things in corporatization. You manage to plan yourself well, your structures become better. There is more influence, you become open when you're a corporate sector. So if education gets a little bit of that corporate world influence, I don't think there's any harm in that. But there are a few things of corporate world too much into, finances. That's the way that world works. There's nothing right or wrong in that. I think if it's all about just money and making money anyway, then it's wrong. Because we are into a service industry. We are dealing with young, fragile lives. Sometimes you have to give more than you get, So if those things have a balance, there's no harm in taking in the good things of the corporate world. I stand by it, and a lot of my schools have got influenced by corporate, and I think it's only done us good.
All right. Thank you.
I'm sure everyone in the room have got a lot of insights, especially about the trends in the educational sector. So I would like to thank each and every person here for being a part of this valuable session. Thank you so much. Ending the panel discussion. Thank you.